Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is December 7th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. If you haven't noticed, I'm here in Florida. One more day. I lied. I'm going to do the briefing here today because my flight does not leave until 7. I won't be back till 10:30 tonight, so I won't be able to do one when I get home. So let's jump into things here. And if you take a look back to our west, you can see the absolute monster lurking out across the Pacific Ocean. This is the big atmospheric river that'll be rolling in on the day Monday, and we have potentially more coming after that as well. I'm going to go into those details here as we go through the video this morning, but that atmospheric river is so big that we're now looking at the Western Pacific satellite imagery, the Himawari satellite imagery. Look at this extend all the way back to where you can smell the mangoes coming all the way across the Pacific Ocean. You can call it the Mango Express. In this case, this atmospheric river, this vapor just transporting across the Pacific Ocean into the Pacific Northwest. You can see we've got flood watches, we got hydrologic outlooks, all kinds of stuff. We got some winds coming in here as well, and we've got some potentially serious flooding potential with these systems coming in here. You can see Western Oregon, Portland National Weather Service is all over it, talking about the Northern Rockies, some of the Idaho Panhandle here as well. And this is National Weather Service Spokane talking about this unsettled weather, the high confidence, heavy mountain rays, warm temperatures, breezy winds as we go through next week, and no sign of snowfall for the next week for the mountains, at least not for any of the lower ski area elevations. And check this out. This is what we ended up getting yesterday officially. I got my new setup there going on a very expensive RM Young anemometer, 47 miles per hour. I test this in with my Tempest weather stations as well. And if you want one of those, makes a great Christmas gift. Click on the link down below to save 10% off. You can see all the stuff it does. Great smartphone app, stores all the data for you in the cloud. So taking a look at the entire northern Pacific Ocean here, Japan to the far left, there's Washington State. And you can probably see that monster again lurking and pushing out, stretching towards the Pacific Northwest. And look at this atmospheric river just bounce around across Pacific Northwest, back and forth, back up across Washington there. And then you can see we stay on the warm side of this jet stream as we go on in towards the following weekend there. And then it may remain a bit active here. Look at another potent atmospheric river showing up on the artificial intelligence as you go all the way on in through the early portion of the following week. So yeah, some interesting stuff coming up here, folks. We definitely got to watch these systems very closely. Then some of the models showing us cooling down a bit as we go, but you're still looking 10 plus days off in the forecast at that point, so I don't want to get people too caught up in that. People have been making promises for some mountain snows coming in here, and we don't have any sign of it here, at least for the next week or so. So you can see we got precipitation on and off, and then the precipitation really ramps up as we go through late Monday morning. You can see that slamming into southwest BC, Washington, northwest Oregon, hangs around, dangerous atmospheric river bouncing back and forth, precipitation continuing all the way on in through the day Wednesday. We're now into Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Look at this precipitation just continue to fall across some of the area. Get a bit of a break here, maybe as we go towards the end of the week, and again we're watching that here closely over the next few days. But yeah, lots to go through before we get to that time period. And some blustery winds coming in today. You can see the bit of a wind increase there for some of the coastal and interior areas, and then a bit more there as we go on in through the day Monday. Probably not as strong as the last round, but still some pretty strong winds coming across some of the higher terrain eastern Washington. You can see there's high wind watches and warnings off across portions of the Rocky Mountains as well. It's going to pick up across from the Oregon Cascades, Oregon coast. And you'll notice as we scroll through the day Monday, you can kind of see the atmospheric river's boundary right here. It bounces down towards western Oregon. Again, you can see the boundary not moving much for some of the coastal areas, western Oregon, and then again lifting back north across portions of western Washington. Again, look at that boundary set up here as we go through Wednesday morning. Again, just continuing the precipitation on. Then hopefully we get a little bit of a break here before potentially more on the way. So accumulated 10 meter max wind gusts. I'll just scroll through here pretty quick. Let's go through Monday, and you can kind of see some of the Cascades picking up some big winds across the Cascades, the ridge lines and whatnot off some of the higher terrain. Seattle maybe gusting 40s, some mid 40s for the coastal areas. Look at that, Spokane checking into the mid 40s as well, and you can see the strong winds across the Rocky Mountains also. So yeah, very stormy pattern incoming here. And if we take a wider look here at the integrated vapor transport, so this is what an atmospheric river is. When you say atmospheric river category 4 or 5, you're not talking about rainfall. An atmospheric river is based on the vapor transport. That's all that it is. Of course, it brings rainfall, and sometimes very heavy rainfall for some areas, but the term itself, atmospheric river, does not mean rainfall. It is integrated vapor transport. Kind of a way meteorologists use to communicate with each other. And I'm scrolling through here, and you can see just the barrage of this atmospheric river really picks up there as we go through Monday morning and continues on in through the day. Tuesday, Western Oregon bounces back north as we go through Wednesday morning, again across Western Washington. And hopefully we get a break after that, because you can see this ridge down here protecting California from that. It's like gears in a machine just funneling this moisture back into the Pacific Northwest, the troughing out across the Gulf of Alaska. And this is day 1 excessive rainfall outlook. There's day 2, the slight risk. We might get some upgrades to this as well. Would not be surprised to see some moderate across southwest Washington, maybe portions of northwest Oregon. And then there's day 3 and day 4 still bouncing around. Man, we got a long way to go with this. This will be Wednesday morning through Thursday morning, and a day 5 excessive rainfall outlook still out there for western Washington. And we'll be watching this. Once you get to the right of this line, we worry about some of the landslide potential across some of the Puget Sound area. And yeah, so we got Seattle, Everett, and Seattle, Tacoma, and Tacoma Narrows there as well. And you can see Snoqualmie near Carnation. We're talking about historical max river flow here. I mean, we're getting up over moderate flood stage here as we go through the night. Some previous runs were showing this staying on for 2-3 days. We'll see how that goes, because this forecast changes quite rapidly. But yeah, we're probably hitting major flood stage and maybe even historical max there on the 9th. They're very close to it. Now, 24-hour running precipitation total. So let's scroll through here. And you'll see the rain really pick up as you go through the day and Monday night. Look at this. By the time you get to Monday night, you're talking about Seattle up over 1.5 inches in a 24-hour period. Huge amounts across the coastal areas, the Cascades, Southwest BC, Vancouver Island. And then we get that bounce back down towards Western Oregon, huge precipitation amounts. And there's going to be a point where this atmospheric river is training over the same area probably for a good 3-day period. So that is probably where the moderate risk is going to be upgraded here in the upcoming days. And then we go on in towards Friday and hopefully a little bit of a break coming there. But if we look at the artificial intelligence, you can see again the atmospheric river bouncing around here. Now what I want to show you here is we get that break there on Friday, Saturday, but not so much for western BC. So that precipitation is still funneling in there. And then look at what comes next. Another potent atmospheric river as we go on in towards the following week here. So we really got to watch that one. If we have very saturated soils and another monster come in over the region, that could be extremely problematic. Now, 850 millibar temperatures. This is the artificial intelligence. You can see plenty of warm air. I mean, this is not good for the snowpack here across the Cascades. Continues all the way on into the following weekend. We're out over 186 hours. Now look at that warm air just flooding the region, over 200 hours out in the forecast. And then some of the deterministic runs show some colder air finally getting down into the region as we go through December 18th or so. But the ensembles are not as bullish with that cold air moving into the area. And I'll show you that here, because you got the recent one, the 06Z on the left, and you got the 0Z on the right. So again, you can see the Pacific Northwest is to the right of these images. And so you got 6-hour differences in these models. And you can see this very warm air at 5,000 feet just continuing to bombard the Pacific Northwest, the colder air well up across Northwest Canada. Then you scroll all the way off into 300 plus hours off in the forecast. That's still not bringing us mountain snow. So we got to watch this closely. But you can see it's getting colder and trying to reach out across the Gulf of Alaska. Hopefully that does get in here. But man, that is not a good look here, because there's really not much of a sign in the ensembles for a big cool down. It's really been backing off. In fact, if I go to the end of this run, you can see how last night's or yesterday afternoon's run had more of that colder air moving in, and now this most recent one has that warm air kind of staying locked in a bit longer. And if we look at the snow depth in inches, you'll notice some of the higher peaks do gain some snow, but that doesn't mean much for us down into the ski areas and whatnot. And if we scroll through the 6-day period, I mean, you can see just the lack of snow for the lower elevations as you go on in through Friday with the very warm air across the region. Now, we look at Quileute and 500 millibars, and you can see we do have the gradual cool off at the very end of the ensembles, but it's really not much. And there's no threat of lower elevation snowfall here for the next 2 weeks or so across the lower elevations, southwest BC, western Washington. If that changes, it might be at the end of the run, so I'll continue to watch that here over the next few days. But right now, you can see we remain fairly warm there, and the blue line is the control run here, kind of showing more of the fluctuations of what might occur. But yeah, not a good look there. Now this is Snoqualmie Pass at 3,000 feet. So there you are at 3,000 feet, 10,000 feet is the top. And this silver line there, or the white line, is the freezing level. And you can see these atmospheric rivers in this very warm air aloft is not going to be good for the ski areas. We're not going to be opening anytime in the next week or so. And Stevens Pass, again, I mean, my goodness, by the time you get towards Friday, look at this. Snow level's well up over 10,000 feet in just very brief periods where you might get towards freezing there as you go through, Tuesday morning, then right back into the warmth. Snoqualmie Pass, just showing you how much rain is going to be falling here over the next couple weeks. I mean, look at this. You're talking about 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, over a foot of rain by the time you go on in towards December 18th, 19th, and 20th for some of the higher terrain. And again, that's going to be very widespread. It's going to lead to some potential flooding. Now, 6 to 10 day, you can see the above average signal for precipitation. 8 to 14 day as well, all the way through December 20th. Climate Prediction Center is agreeing with what the artificial intelligence ensembles are showing and not allowing cooler air back down into the area. And there's the 8 to 14 day above normal there again as well. So anyway, I will be home for tomorrow's briefing unless my flight gets canceled or something like that. So hopefully you guys will check back then, but stay safe out there. Hopefully prepared, anybody out there near rivers and whatnot. And if you see water on roadways, don't cross over those areas, and be very careful. That Snoqualmie River is probably going to be flooding as well as some other rivers here. Check your local rivers for more information on that. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's forecast.